You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
Welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 26 of Fullmetal Alchemist. A much happier episode. Steven, what did you think?
This was an episode that made me realize I don't like trying to make notes for an episode because there was just a lot going on. I was trying to keep up and there was a lot of new characters showing up and my brain was hurting and I don't feel like I followed it properly to try and break it down. So hopefully I did. So if I missed anything, please help me flesh it out because I felt like I missed some names and some people and some events and it was hard to keep track. So first of all, Mustang gets a note from Ed asking for a reimbursement for a bunch of junk.
A bunch of reimbursements.
Yeah. Food, toys, magazines, not really essentials.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, food would be, but the other stuff, not so much. And they seemed a little frustrated by it. And Mustang is trying to find out where they went. He wants to know where they went so he can find them. And he's asking everybody and no one really has an answer. And then about the time he was about to lose his shit, a woman bursts in shouting she was looking for them as well. And then some big dude with a beard grabs a map and shows her the map, taps on it, and she's like, aha. And then they set off knowing exactly where to go look. And then we get a new opening.
Yes.
Because we didn't talk about the last. I know we eventually did, but we didn't talk about it at the time that it happened. But they've changed the opening again. New song, new intro, the whole shebang. So I guess that's just to set off, to let you know that we've changed gears from last time because the sadness. And then we're just like, all right, well now we're moving past that. So at least that's the way I'm assuming. That's what they're trying to say. Every 12 episodes, I'm going to bet where we're seeing a new opening. Is there another opening that you can remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. I'm gonna stake a claim right here and now since this is episode 26, was it?
Yes.
Now, granted, I guess 12, 13, somewhere in there because I feel like that's when the last one happened. So, I don't know. I'm gonna stick to it. I feel like that's going to happen. We'll have at least one more. So the Elric brothers and Winry make it to Rush Valley, and of course Winry is all excited looking at all the beautiful little automail and just all the things that they see. Then we meet a grizzled old automailer. That's what I like to call him. His name is Dominic, and he just seems like he's minding his own business. Seems like he's just a regular working class guy. Nothing special about him. And some dick customer comes in and just is being a dick. I don't really know what else to say about him.
Yeah, he wants auto mail, and he's perfectly fine, has all his arms, all his legs, but wants auto mail because, as he states, his grandma just died and left him a boatload of money.
And he just wants to spend it on some auto mail because he's a dick. Not really understanding what its benefit could be to some people. He's just a dick. I don't really know what else. That's his name, Dick. So we go back out to the streets after that guy gets harassed, and Dick's out there as well, championing on any other dicks that are in the crowd or whatever. But they see a contest happening where dude's challenging anybody to come and arm wrestle with him, and they get to win this big pile of money. And it seems like the champion is winning every single time.
He is.
And they take note, or at least the brothers do, that they're using alchemy to cheat.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So a woman who happened to be the same woman that was with Dominic, I think her name was Paninya or Paninya, something like that.
Something like that.
Something like that. It sounded like that. So she comes out to challenge this guy, and seems like for a moment she was going to make it. Because, I mean, everybody else who stepped in the ring, they were taken down like in a split second.
Yeah.
But she's holding her own, and then suddenly the guy whips out the old alchemy trick, busts up the table, and then she loses. And so they're looking for the next contestants, and the guy just, we never did get his name, but the guy who's the barker of the whole circus is trying to lure people in. He spots Al and is like, hey, you look like you could, take a guy out. I bet you could too. I bet you could have wasted him in no time. But Al says, Al declines, and then of course he looks at Ed, and the joke that's going to happen is that he's going to, oh no, that little shrimp couldn't do nothing. Of course that sets him off. But then what makes it even worse is like Ed was willing, but then he insults the automail.
Yeah, says Ed's automail looks like he got it out of a junk heap. And that sets Winry off.
Oh, yeah. She was like, get in there now.
I just love how at first she's just all like, oh, God, Ed's doing this again. And then it's like, Alphonse, put your brother down.
It's like, I'm done with it. So, you know how to get under her skin, insult her automail. Then, where are we at? So, Ed goes in to confront the cheaters, and he sets his arm down and wastes no time. Just like the moment they said go, he ripped dude's arm off. Just
yeah.
And you could look at it one way. I kind of felt like I knew what he had done, but
yeah, I mean, it's kind of given the way that it broke apart that alchemy had to be involved.
Sure. So they run, they win, they take their money, and they're all excited, and Winry's all excited about it all, and then they're confronted by the cheaters, who then call them out for cheating.
Yeah.
The irony of it all. And then Winry's just like, no, he didn't cheat, and Ed's like, well. And that pisses her off. So she not only wallops the shit out of Ed and Al, but then the cheaters. She, with the sack of money, just beating the shit out of everybody, and then
her
walks
wrench.
Away. Yeah. So they're all kind of like, what the hell? And she just walks away. She's done with the cheaters. Then we cut back to Mustang meeting with Armstrong to discuss possible murder suspects, but Armstrong cannot give names, and that is very specific on what he says. He cannot name names, despite Mustang trying to be persistent about it, saying, I outrank you, and he's like, I'm sorry, sir, I can't.
Despite him ordering him to tell him.
So he dismisses Armstrong, but he makes note of the conversation, saying that he's trying to tell me something, and clearly someone who outranks both of us, or at least outranks him, has ordered him to keep silent. So there's something else at play here, and I've got to be aware of it. So I'm glad that he at least had he paid attention to the conversation.
Yeah.
And he even noted that he said names plural.
Yep.
It wasn't just one person, but several. So he's already got a few clues under his belt that'll help, hopefully. But then we cut back to Winry, who meets with Paninya. That's what I want to continue to call her. I feel like I'm right. And she's sitting on a bench, just kind of, staring at the sky, whatever. And Winry comes over and says hello, and she inspects her automail because she's fascinated, and she's really she proves in that moment, obviously we know, but the woman doesn't know that Winry's an expert in auto mail. So she tells her she probably needs to go get her stuff repaired, and possibly by the person who did it, because she said, well, I could probably do it, but, I probably don't know all the ins and outs of this. So let the person that did it fix it for you, and that'll be fine. And then Winry asked her about her accident, because having auto mail, there was probably an accident involved. And apparently there was a train wreck she was in when she was a kid, and she was taken in by the mechanic we call Dominic, who gave her new limbs and I guess raised her from that point on.
Yes, she had lost both of her legs and one of her arms.
So he crafted her some new limbs and then took her in from there on. And she mentions one of the reasons she hasn't gone to ask him to fix her auto mail is because she's worried that, he might be disappointed in her for losing the arm wrestling match, because that's his auto mail. And yeah, I guess auto mailers have this pride in their work, and I guess I can understand what the frustration would be. But again, they cheated, and she was doing pretty damn good. I think she would have beat him if they were playing fair, but they don't.
Yeah.
So they go back to the shop, and Winry takes a look at it, like she's trying to do some repairs on it. And then Dominic shows it up and asks what's going on. And then Winry introduced herself, and dude went into an immediate panic because he apparently knows Panako.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, that woman. And we even got to see her younger, like in a flashback of his mind.
Yeah, Panako was hot.
And taller. What the fuck? How did she shrink?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. So, anyway, the next day, Winry runs into Ed and Al. She's got Paninya with her, and she snatches Ed's watch, hands it to Paninya, and has her run off.
Well, Paninya snatched the watch.
Okay, well, but it was all set up.
Oh, yes, Winry set him up.
Yeah.
She asked Ed to take it out so she could look at it. And as Ed was holding it, the girl snatched the watch and ran off.
Yeah. So this, according to Winry, was to have Ed appreciate auto mail, like to learn to appreciate auto mail from I guess a different perspective. Because where he did use the alchemy, I could see where she would think that he's dismissing what he has versus... Exactly.
She wants him to appreciate her auto mail and the work she puts into it.
Right.
But again, he didn't do... He could have beat the man with his arm. Like with her auto mail, he could have beaten him. But he used the alchemy because either way, they were going to use the alchemy.
Yeah.
So just nip it in the bud before anybody can suspect anything. Or, more like so they can't, draw first.
Right. So, I mean, I understood what he was doing and why he did it, because cheat the cheaters, as it were. So, understandable. But anyway, Paninya runs off. Ed goes after her, chases her throughout the town, on the rooftops and what have you. And he eventually corners her, and she whips out a trick knee where she shoots a missile out at him.
Yeah.
And then you just see like an explosion from a distance where I guess Al was watching and was like, oh shit, what was that? And then obviously he's not dead, but Paninya's running off. He catches back up with her, get up on a rooftop. Then she kind of slips, goes to fall, and then Ed uses alchemy to do this really weird thing where multiple hands just kind of plap, plap, plap. You think he'd have come up with something a little bit better, but I guess it was just, he broke her fall.
Yeah.
It was just, seemed like it would still have been painful in some way. So after that happens, they just, wanted to again prove that the auto mail was solid. Especially Paninya wanted to make sure that hers was, or feels like it is, and doesn't want to disappoint Dominic. But the old man says that she just doesn't understand what he wants her to appreciate from the automail, that it becomes part of you. You become one with it, and that's the appreciation he wants to pass on to her.
Yeah, like, don't wear it as a ornament.
Yeah.
This is your arm. These are your legs. Like, whatever they mean to you, that's all that matters. He could give a fuck about what anybody else says about his automail.
Yeah.
As long as it is meaningful to those people that he helps with it, that's all he wants. That's what makes him fulfilled.
So with that, we cut back to Cheska talking with Mustang. And am I to understand, did I hear this correctly? They have closed the investigation on Hughes?
Yes.
And Cheska is begging Mustang to reopen the case because she knows something's foul.
Yep.
And he says it's out of his hands. It's been closed. Then, was this a new general?
Yes.
And it came in? I didn't catch his name.
I don't remember his name.
I don't remember. So a new general comes in to greet Mustang. And I don't know. He seems like a shady character. I don't really trust him.
To be real, they all seem shady.
Yeah. But even in this instance, Mustang kind of come off shady because he just did his thing, and Cheska ran out of the room feeling like he just dismissed every concern she had.
Like he didn't care.
Yeah, like just honestly like he didn't care. And then when they left and the doors were being shut, it was he made a comment about climbing the ladder, climbing the ranks. And it just seemed like he was more concerned about his career. And I want to think that there's more to it than this, but I don't know about the man sometimes. You know, especially considering what we know of him and Hughes and their relationship. Like, he would be that cold-hearted. I don't know. It just doesn't add up. But I digress. Anyway, Winry and Ed are kind of back in their room, and Ed's kind of napping or whatnot, or just laying there. And Winry talks about wanting to just work on his automail, maybe go back to wherever they're from. She's even said the name, and I cannot... Risenbull. To make some improvements, work on it or whatever. And he's just like, whatever. Not right now. And she seems like she thinks that he doesn't appreciate it. Much like her concern earlier that I got the impression she thinks he doesn't appreciate her work.
No, I think it's more, she just fucking misses him. She's tired of him being in danger. She knows they're going back out there to be in danger. Like, she knows this is just like a tiny happy moment and everything's eventually going to just be ripped away from her again.
Yeah.
And these two people, because if you think about it, the only other person she has is her grandmother outside of Ed and Al. Like, they are her brothers in a sense.
Yeah.
Which that ends up getting kind of gray area as they get older, but still, they're her family.
Yeah.
She loves them. She wants them to be safe, and she feels like she's the only one that wants them to be safe. Like, they don't want that safety for themselves. They don't want to come back and just live a peaceful, happy life because they're always going to be chasing this, and she just feels like, I'm sure she feels like they don't care as much about her and about Panaka, but that's really not where it comes from.
Sure.
And I think it's just kind of that buildup. Like, she already still feels bad about everything that happened leading up to all that. And then putting him through this crap. And then, you know, she's asking him to come back, and he's just, I mean, he literally said, "Let me think about it." Paused for like a minute and then said, "Nah, I think we'll continue on our journey."
Right.
So I can understand why she'd be like, you know, why don't you want to come back with me? Why don't you want to be with me?
Yeah.
And it's sad, but she also doesn't understand it.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they have their own thing that they're dealing with, and she's just not in a loop, and...
Exactly. She understands what it's like to lose her parents, but she doesn't understand what it's like to lose everything. And literally, like, I mean, Al lost fucking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she just doesn't want him to be, she doesn't want to lose him. That's all it boils down to.
And again, we've pointed out numerous times, they've pointed out in the show, I mean, these are like her brothers, and it's understandable. It's family. So you're trying to care for them and do right by them and be there for them, but it gets difficult. So
yeah,
it's rough for her. But right at the end,
yeah,
we saw Al spot someone from a distance and then look shocked, and then that's when we cut away back to Ed and Winry. But then he bursts in at that, like, as Winry's kind of breaking down about everything, and brings in that big towering man.
Well, he didn't bring them in. He was trying to get back to warn Edward before they got there.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm assuming this is the teacher.
The woman is the teacher. The big towering man is her lovable husband.
So, I kind of had a feeling. I was trying to figure out who was who, but you just saw this big brick house of a man.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. He's going to break them in two or something.
Oh, no. His wife is so much scarier than he is.
Okay. So I guess we're going to get to meet the teacher finally.
Yes.
Yay.
I'm so excited. I love her so freaking much.
She seemed like a Spitfire, but I wasn't sure what kind of person she was, because we didn't really get to see a lot of her. We just saw her at the beginning, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So if we're going to get to meet her, let's go ahead and meet her, because I'm ready to go.
Actually kind of funny, real quick. The episode where Winry showed up at Central to fix Ed's arm. As they are panning over, as she's looking over the crowd, there stood the teacher and her husband looking at a map of Central City.
Interesting. So they've been watching them the whole time, huh?
Well, they've been tracking them down, or trying to.
And see, that raises some questions for me. All the more reason I want to just get on with it, because why have they been distant from them, and why are they tracking them?
Well, you saw Edward's face when he found out, or when he saw the husband. They know shit's about to hit the fan.
But the why? That's the question, the why.
Because of what they did.
I want to know what they did.
No, when they were on the train on the way to Rush Valley, when Winry was asking why they weren't going to the teachers, Ed and Al said that if they went there, she would kill them.
Yes, but why? That's what I want to know.
Because of human transmutation.
That's it?
That's a very big part of it.
I understand that, but
that
I just felt like it was...
being a part of the military.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are the two big reasons.
I just felt like there was more to it than that.
No.
It's just being disappointed in them for everything they've done up to this point.
She definitely shows her disappointment. All right. Well, lead us out so we can get into the next episode.
Well, as always, tell anyone that you want to listen to the podcast that they can listen to us on their preferred podcasting platform. You can rate and review on those podcasting apps like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all that jazz. And you can listen to episodes a week early on Patreon, patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions, and keep up with all things at pencilpaperproductions.com/inspired weeaboo. Links are in the show notes down below.
All right, my little weebs. We will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.